OBJ, let's start there. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. Uh, did an interview, I believe, with Ryan Clark on the Pivot, and he talked about how $100 million isn't what everybody thinks. It's really only 60 million. And I didn't know what I was doing, but anyway, let's play a taste of OBJ. This is SOT 5 talking about how basically indicating like he blew a $100 million contract. Play the clip.
If I didn't have a dollar in my account right here today as we speak, I'm gonna be straight for the rest of my life. No question, right? I don't think everybody is in that. And when you've sacrificed your whole life to get here, and you're like, yeah, I played 10 years in the league. And I always explain this to people, I'm like, bro, you give somebody a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? What is it really? It's 5 years for 60. We're getting taxed. Do the math. That's 12 a year, that you have to spend, use, save, invest, flaunt, like whatever, however, just being real. I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna give my mama a house, I'm gonna do, everything costs money. So if you spending $4 million a year, that's really 40 million over 5 years, 8 a year, And now you start breaking down the numbers, it's like, that's a 5-year span of where you're getting 8 million. Can you make that last forever? And you always hear the people who ain't us and ain't been in the position, like, oh, well, that would last a lifetime. Yeah.
You always hear people that ain't us. And what he's basically saying is like, hey, white people can't relate. They don't get it. All the pressure that we're under, and they can't relate, and all the people we have to help, and they can't relate. And maybe that's true. But they can't say that about me and a bunch of other black men, young men, older men. No, I've been broke. I come from a poor family. My mother was a factory worker. My dad was a businessman, street businessman, owned a bar. But when, after my parents divorced and in my senior year, when I had to move in with my dad because my mother's job moved to Kansas City, like me and my father, I've told this story multiple times, 1984, I'm living in a 1-bedroom, 400 square foot apartment with my dad in the hood in Indianapolis. He's working for a friend at another bar because the IRS has come and taken my father out for not paying his taxes. I'm not disparaging my father. I'm telling you the truth. Father is one of my favorite people in the history of the world. But I've been poor. I've lived and slept on a couch in the living room in a 400 square foot apartment with my father. And so I can relate. And I've come into a significant amount of money over the course of my career and started making more than my parents. I think by the time I was 25, 26 years old. And by the time I'm 28, 29, 30 years old, like I'm making real money. And because my grandmother develops Alzheimer's, I start becoming responsible for helping her out financially and helping my mother out financially because she has to relieve her job to take care of her mother, my grandmother, and my grandmother is my favorite person in the history of the world. And so I start having to help them out. And so I know the pressure that OBJ is talking about. And anybody that's got a heart for their family, which many of us do, we know that we end up with extended family. I've seen wealthy people go through that. I could talk about my adopted family in Kansas City, wealthy people, Kirk and Susie, I won't go into their last name, but like I've seen them help their extended family. People can relate to this. OBJ is preposterous here. Kirk and Susie are white. And Kirk's a lawyer and done very well, but comes from a very modest family, and so did Susie. And I've seen them bring people from their family into their home and try to help raise them and support. I don't want to tell all their business. Let me tell my business. But this isn't a black-white issue. It's like OBJ has been convinced there's only this certain segment of people that can relate, and only black athletes and only black liberals can relate to the pressures he's put. And it's all a lie. And so when OBJ was young and at the height of his career, and people were looking at him exhibit behavior, it was like, oh man, he's being super irresponsible with how he's handling his career. He seems to be immersed in jewelry and flash and flaunting. And people like myself would be like, man, I don't know if these are good long-term behaviors. There's going to be problems here. And you say it in different ways, and you say it in a way to try to shake someone up. It's like a football coach that would come to me when I was a kid at Ball State, and they'd say, hey man, you need to lose weight. And then they'd say, hey man, you need to lose weight. Hey, we want you in better shape, blah, blah, blah. And then they'd get frustrated and try to shake me up. And they might say, hey, you fat piece of blah, 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 trying to shake me up, trying to beat some sense into my head. And you could sit there and say, hey, that's no way to talk to Jason Whitlock. And the coach would be sitting there and say, hey man, I've talked to him politely for months and it's not working. The only thing and the coach can't say this, but this is what he thinks, like the only thing that gets through to this big dumb idiot is when I yell at him or punish him. And because I care about him enough and my success is tied to his success, I've now gone to the extra lengths of, yeah, I'm going to yell at him and call him names and see if that will shake him up. And I understand I used to be very frustrated with my coaches in college. But eventually I grew up and saw the wisdom in what they were doing, and in my adulthood have received the benefits from what they were doing in terms of like helping shape my worldview and get all of that single mama out of me. And that's not to disparage my mother. I'm not. But when you exist in a feminized, matriarchal culture, excuses and delusion, and no one, a man standing 10 toes down and just drawing a line in the sand with you, like my father did with me, you end up like OBJ. And you end up embracing a lifestyle and an image that will make you old, broke joke. And that's what OBJ is. And now Ryan Clark and others want to rally around OBJ, and instead of letting young people learn from OBJ's mistakes. And there's a harsh reality that I grew up, some of you young guys will have never heard of this, but older guys will. There was a television show called Scared Straight. And they would take young, teenage, delinquent children, and they took them to Rahway State Prison for a day. And they let the prisoners talk to them. And so let's say they took 15 teenage kids, maybe half of them were black, some were Latino, some were white. And these prisoners got in there and started yelling at them and explaining like, man, when we get you in here, we're going to bend you over and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And this is what goes on and you ain't going to be able to handle it, blah, blah. And they yelled and screamed and cursed at them, trying to scare the kids straight. Some of them, it helped. Many of them, it did not help. And they ended up doing a follow-up, and you'd see some went on to get in trouble. A couple of them went the right way, but they tried to scare them straight. We don't allow that anymore. Everything now is, hey, if you criticize OBJ in real time, when he's making money and he's 24, 25, and he's at the height of his NFL career, but you have older eyes and you can see like, this dude is going to be broke. His career is not going to last as long as it should. No one's going to want to be associated with OBJ. You're the bad guy. And Jason, I'm the bad guy. Because in real time, when OBJ was doing all this dumb stuff that has made him old, broke joke, I was trying to say, hey, you idiot, stop it. Don't make this mistake.